Now, you go to number 5, racial showcasing confusion.
What's that?
That's putting a few black people, all black faces that used to be to the back. We want them down front now. Okay? Put black faces down front on a whole bunch of stuff that the white supremacists are going to be doing in the back. But you have a black face up front. Now that makes black people get mad at the black people who are up front.
Right.
But it's the white supremacists who are back behind the
curtain, orchestrating the whole thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Puppet master.
So that causes confusion, and it also causes black people to start attacking each other, and the racists are back behind the wall, just cracking their sides, laughing. Say, we got them again. I mean, these people are the dumbest creatures you'll ever see, because they can't catch on to nothing. All right.
Okay.
Then you go to number 6. Racial white sacrifice confusion.
White sacrifice?
Yes. Meaning, when you drive down the street and you look out your car window, you see some white people on park benches. You see some white people who are out there barefooted in the wintertime. And you see some white people walking around talking to themselves and whatnot and don't have anything. I mean, and you say, oh, racism is over, because look, you got white people who are poor. You got white people that don't have anything. You got white people who are suffering, just like black people. So it's not racism. It must be something else. No, the white supremacists operate on a percentage basis. They know that, and they even put in position in the path of danger a certain segment of white people. They'll just pick out white people, so to speak, and just throw them under the bus. This is to distract non-white people to thinking that racism doesn't exist.
Yes.
But they do it on a percentage basis. See, for every 10,000 black people that they kill, they'll kill 10 white people. And say, see, it's not about race. I mean, people just out here killing people. That's all it is. See, but it's always the black people who are the greatest number of people suffering. Okay. That's the way they operate.
She's there. I think just he felt her heart, and he explained that to me. And I was just, I mean, when he said he has the papers in front of him and he's signing it, I just, like, my heart was so full.
I'm just going to throw them at you. You tell me who's right and who's wrong. Trump is using you as a political pawn. So now you're sort of, you've endorsed him in a way. You're kind of giving him legitimacy. You might be in a campaign video. He used you.
I think Kanye's already given him legitimacy, so I don't, in that way. So I was working on this before, so I don't, like, for being, I don't think I would be used, and at the end of the day, he heard me out. We got the job done. So I don't think, like, what could he really use me for?
See, this is a perfect example of when you ask these suspected white supremacists the right questions in the right settings, or even just even a white ally, if you will, asking these suspected white supremacists the right questions, you're gonna get the truth to come out, as Kim Kardashian did by saying, Van Jones asked her a question about, her as well as Kanye and all these black people, these black celebrities, these entertainers, are being used as political pawns for the ultimate goal of white supremacy, because Donald Trump, aka Clockwork Orange, is the face of white supremacy, right? And then she says, being used as, she's like, Kanye West was already being used in that fashion, right? He was already giving Donald Trump legitimacy, right? She was like, well, I was already doing my thing on the side. I was been doing that, but Kanye, my husband, he was already being used. I acknowledge that. It's basically what she was saying. I acknowledge him being used as a political pawn, political posturing, aka racial showcasing, which is what I'm going to be talking about and further expounding upon Neely Fuller's ideology regarding the tactics of white supremacy. And, this is something I've been saying for a while. Black people continue to fall for the okie doke of what Donald Trump, aka Clockwork Orange, is doing. He's, very, very intelligently using black people as pawns on the chessboard to say the first thing is, hey, I'm doing more things for black people than Obama. Right? On the surface level, the average black person is probably going to think that. Man, Donald Trump, he's not so bad. Look at what he's doing for Marie Alice Johnson. I mean, that woman was locked up for a non-violent crime for 20 years, and Donald Trump signed a pardon to make sure that she was free. And I have to commend him for that. That's the whole purpose. That's the trick bag that black people fall for. They don't understand that racial showcasing, what Donald Trump is doing, is an old tactic from white supremacy since the inception of political campaigns, the political parties in the United States. Right? We've always been used, and we continue to be used as pawns. And it's all for the benefit of white supremacy. So when you have someone like a Donald Trump, right, who pardons Jack Johnson, who's been dead for, I think, probably 100 years, if not more, if I'm not mistaken, and get somebody like a Deontay Wilder, Sylvester Stallone, right, so on and so forth, the WBC president, Lennox Lewis, etc., there to do a photo op, to sign a pardon for someone that passed. What does that do, right? Again, I asked this question. Outside of Jack Johnson's family, what does that do collectively for black people? Right? It's a very simple question. What does that do collectively for black people in the long run? What does pardoning Alice Marie Johnson, who was locked up for over 20 years for a nonviolent crime for so-called cocaine trafficking, releasing her, what does that do outside of her family? And again, I'm not taking anything away from Jack Johnson's family or Alice Marie Johnson's family. Those are great things for their individual families. But what does that do, again, collectively for black people? It's a rhetorical question. It does absolutely nothing. What does it do for Donald Trump and white supremacy? It keeps black people docile. You see how that works? You see how you're able to use black people as political pawns, aka racial showcasing, using them to say, hey, this man Donald Trump is not so bad after all. He's doing way more for black people than Barack Obama. What has Barack Obama done? Right? That's the trick bag, and that's the whole point of what Donald Trump continues to do, continues to pull this trick bag that black people continue to fall for. He'll pardon Jack Johnson one day, then the following day he'll say, we tamed the continent. Meaning we tamed black people in Africa. We tamed our indigenous people that were here in the Americas, in North America, right? And he says, we don't apologize for your atrocities in America. We're not going to apologize for that. Basically, legitimizing white supremacy. He mentioned our ancestors tamed the continent. Right? So, you have to understand, again, racial showcasing, that Donald Trump continues to prove and utilize black people as political pawns by giving him legitimacy and say, hey, this is what I've done for black people. Here's the pictures. Here's the proof. I've done way more for black people in my first tenure as president than Barack Obama has done for 8 years. Right? This is the second point. This is the second ideology of what Neely Fuller was also talking about is confusion. This is confusing black people. Because black people are like, well, damn. Donald Trump has done a lot for black people. But does racism still exist? And this is a legitimate thought process that some black, well, I would say not some, a lot of black people have in their mind. They're saying, does racism really still exist? Because of all what Donald Trump is doing. And so that's confusing them. Confusing them to a point where they're questioning if we're still dealing with systemic oppression. That's the whole point of white supremacy, is to cause confusion. Cause confusion, cause chaos, and cause us to infight one another. Right? For political, for social, political, and economical gain. Just so that we can be showcased under the system of racism, white supremacy. That's what it comes down to. Right? And so again, you know, outside of what Clockwork Orange done for Jack Johnson's family, done for Alice Maurice Johnson's family. Am I saying her name right? Alice Marie Johnson or Maurice Alice Johnson? I'm sorry. I forgive me if I said her name incorrectly. But outside of them two, what does him doing that for them, what does it do collectively for black people? Have to keep asking that question. It does absolutely nothing. What has it done for number 45, aka Clockwork Orange? What does it do for him? It keeps black people docile. It makes him legitimate and say, I've done more for black people than Barack Obama in my short tenure. Have to keep going back to that. Have to keep going back to that. Because that's the whole purpose of that. Right? Now, you got to ask the question like, well, Chauncey, I mean, you keep saying, you don't agree with his stance on using black people as political pawns. What would you have done if you were Deontay Wilder or you were locked up for 20 years, and wanted to get out of jail? What would you have done? Well, it's something called leverage. I'm not going to say, okay, I want to meet with Clockwork Orange to sign a pardon for a deceased individual who was wrongly convicted. I'm going to say, well, if you do this for Jack Johnson's family, let's start a process. And I'm gonna do baby steps too, because the ultimate goal is reparations. That's the ultimate goal. But I'm gonna put that as part of the steps to help correct the ills collectively for black people as a group, because we're still being mistreated, disenfranchised, right, etc. We're still at the bottom of the totem pole for every statistical category you can think of, top to bottom. All 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and more. But it's called leverage. So instead of just agreeing about, appearing with number 45 for a pardoning, I would say, well, let's start a corrective process to make sure that black people are, number one, are exclusively in a protective group where we have a system in place right? We have a system in place that if we're being mistreated or racially profiled by suspected race soldiers, right, that these race soldiers will be convicted to the fullest extent of the law. We'll make sure that the jury process, right, isn't tainted. There's no smoke and mirrors when this goes to trial, right? We'll start from a local level, a county level, a state, and a federal level to make sure that black people are protected under those circumstances. So I'll start there. I'll just give them I'll give them a list, right? That's just one idea in my head, but I'll give them a list of things I would like to see accomplished for black people collectively, so that we can close the gap in making sure that we're treated as a protected group, as the Asian American group, as the so-called Native American group, as the Jewish community, because that is a protective group. They have reparations and we don't. But the ultimate goal is to ensure that if I'm going to meet with this guy about pardoning someone, or if I'm going to be free out of jail after 20 years of being wrongly convicted, let's start a process in making sure that black people collectively as a group are able to benefit, right, from these things, right? So I'm not going to make it mutually exclusive. I'm not going to make it mutually exclusive just to myself. I'm going to ensure that black people collectively as a group can benefit from a pardoning, being wrongfully convicted, right? Prison reform. I'm going to ensure that black people, all right, are in line to make sure that we are again being treated as a protected group. And the ultimate goal is reparations, right? So it's just not about accepting an appearance and doing a photo op. It's more to that. And I would not listen. It's easier said than done. Let me tell you something. I say that because, well, Chauncey, you never been locked up for 20 years. How would you know? You would probably say anything to get out. What I know now, if I was locked up about racism, white supremacy, trust me, I would say the same thing. I'd rather be in jail if this man does not work on a plan to systemically help black people get out of this condition that we're in right now. Bottom line, right? So, yeah, fam, like I said about, racial showcasing and black people being used as a political pawn, and these suspected white supremacists throwing their loved ones under the bus by saying, yeah, man, my husband is giving Clockwork Orange legitimacy. I know this, right? So all of this stuff that's going on with black people, photo ops and these pardonings and all this stuff, we're still infighting. Because white supremacy, one of the tactics of white supremacy is confusion. And it's still working to this day. To the point where black people are questioning whether or not we're still dealing with systemic oppression. See, that's the whole point. Right? So, anyway, Pamela, those are my thoughts about Clockwork Orange and Donald, aka Donald Trump, continuing to use black people as political pawns to give him legitimacy to say, hey, I'm doing way more for black people than Barack Obama. I freed all these black people. I freed a dead guy. I freed somebody who was locked up wrongfully for 20 years. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm taking pictures with these black celebrities. I have black celebrities work under me. I've done way more for black people, and I'm not racist. I can't be racist. See, that right there is leaving black people confused. Confusion and chaos and infighting. And that's why white supremacy continues to dominate. Point blank and simple. So anyway, those are my thoughts about that, family. Leave your comments down below in the comment section. Make sure you follow me on social media at GMOGMediaTV. All links are down below in the description. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit that bell notification icon. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, Chauncey, aka the Black Separatist, signing out.